Hey everybody, we're going to talk about how to do blues in A today, playing the chords for the blues in A. Now I've got a blues play along on the site and you're welcome to practice along with that if you feel comfortable with these. Also, if you don't know the chords that I'm talking about, they're in my video called 7 chords or 7th chords. And today what we're going to do is we're going to learn the blues in A using the A7, the D7, and the E7. So I'll review those chords really quickly and then we'll talk about how to put the pattern together or the progression together and how to think about it as a pattern so that we can memorize this quickly. The good news is every blues tune will be based on this pattern. Now there will be variations, there are going to be some chords that are different from tune to tune and that kind of thing, some extra chords or some bonus chords we'll call them, but we're going to stick with just the very basic, simple 12-bar blues today. Now let's go ahead and talk about what 12-bar means. That's basically just means there are 12 measures that we are going to have to account for. Each of those measures will be a chord, and some of the measures will be the same chord as the chord before. Sometimes you're going to have measures that are different. Each measure is different, but we'll talk about that and again turn this into like a pattern so that we can kind of memorize what's going on with these. So let's start with reviewing the chords. So we have an A7 chord, that's A on the 5th string, and then the frets that we'll play below that are fret 2 on string 4, open string 3, fret 2 on string 2, and then open string 1. And notice I'm using fingers 2 and 3 to do that. My 1st and 4th fingers are not doing anything here. So that's an A7, 5 strings because the 5th string is A, that's our bass note. We're not going to play string 6 at all, the low string. Now to turn the A7 into a D7, we move these 2 fingers towards the floor, 1 string. Now we've got 2 and 3 on strings 3 and 1, but they haven't changed frets. They're still holding 2 and 2. And we take our 1st finger here and put it on the 2nd string right in the middle of those 2 other fingers on fret 1. And it will sound like this. 4th string is open, and then we have finger 2 on fret 2, finger 1 on fret 1, and then finger 3 still on fret 2 on the 1st string. So that is fret-wise, it's 0, 2, 1, 2. Now it's really easy to get back to A7. You just lift your 1st finger and then move these 2 fingers back to the strings that they started on. And you'll have frets for A7, open 5th string, 2, O, 2, O. Now to move this A7 to an E7, you take these 2 fingers and move them another string this direction, which is down in pitch. It's physically up, but it is down in pitch. We're going to move those. Now we have our 2nd finger on the 5th string. That's our target finger. That's what we're really worried about, because we're not going to need this 3rd finger. We're going to lift that 3rd finger and put our 1st finger down on string 3, fret 1. So now we're going to play all 6 strings for this. The frets are open 6th string, followed by 2 on the 5th string, then open 4th string, 1 1st finger 1st fret on the 3rd string, and then strings 2 and 1 are both open. So here they all are again. A7, 5 strings starting on string 5, open A. That's 0, 2, 0, 2, 0. Now we move that up in pitch or down towards the floor and add our 1st finger to string 2, and we get from the 4th string open, 2, 1, 2. Now move that back to an A7, pick up your 1st finger and move downward in pitch, which is up on the guitar, and string 5 is open, then 2, 0, 2, 0. That's that A7 returning. Now we move down in pitch again, which is up, physically up. I know that's confusing, but I'm going to keep repeating that over and over in all of these videos so that you understand. Upwards physically is downward in pitch, and towards the floor, downwards physically is up in pitch. Now once we move back to this 5th string with the 2nd finger, we lift our 3rd finger and put our 1st finger on string 3, fret 1, and then we have open 6th string, 2nd fret, open, 1, 0, and 0. Now To memorize the blues, let's do this in 4 measure stages. Since it's a 12-bar blues, we're going to have 3 groups of 4 measures, and we're going to memorize the 4 measures just as a set. Then we'll be able to put those sets together to create the entire 12-bar blues. So the first 4 measures are going to be very, very easy. We'll do variations on these later, but for now, the first 4 are going to all be A7. So measure 1 is A7, and we're going to play that and count to 4. So here's measure 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now just do that again on measure 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again on measure 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. And measure 4, same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that's your first set of 4 measures, and there's not really a whole lot to memorize there. It's just 4 measures of A7. So that's the easy one. Now the second set of 4, which will be measures 5, 6, 7, 8 out of our total of 12, they're a little trickier, but not really that bad. The first 2 measures of the second set will be D7, and the last 2 are going to go back to A7. So you just have to remember to switch to D7, play that 2 measures, and then switch back to A7 and play that for 2 more measures. So here are measures 5, 6, 7, 8 out of 12, which is our second set of 4. We're going to play the D7 and count to 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, another D7, 2, 3, 4, and the last 2 are back to A7. So switch to that A7 chord, and let's hear A7, 2, 3, 4, and another A7, 2, 3, 4. Now, let's go back and review really quickly. The first set of 4 are all A7 chords. So that's measure 1, 2, 3, and 4, all A7s. That's the first set of 4. So just remember, first set, all A7. The second set of 4 measures is going to be split in half. First 2 measures are D7, last 2 measures are A7. So measures 5, 6, 7, 8 are 2 measures of D7, that's measures 5 and 6. Measures 7 and 8 are both A7. So let's do the last 4, and then you can go back and review this video, and also go check out the blog and make sure you look at the chart so you can see these in action. That'll help a lot. Just being able to see it in writing will kind of give you a bigger picture of how this all fits together. So the last 4, it's a constant move. Every measure is different. So you notice we haven't used the E7 chord yet, and that's a little trick. Just remember, we haven't used it yet, and that's what the last set of 4 measures starts with. And then we're going to move down alphabetically and end back on that E7 that we're starting with. So the last 4 measures will be E7, measure 9, and then down alphabetically to D7 for measure 10, and then A7 on measure 11, and then E7 for that last measure, measure 12. So I'm going to go through these a little quicker now. Don't have to play along, just see if you can speak the names of the chords with me as we go. So the first set are all A7, so measure 1 is A7, measure 2 is A7, measure 3 is A7, measure 4 is A7. Pretty easy. Now, second set of 4, measure 5, 6, 7, 8. Measure 5 is D7, so is measure 6. Measure 7 is A7, so is measure 8. Now for the last 4, 9, 10, 11, 12, we go to the E7 that we haven't played yet, down alphabetically to D7, and then down to A7, and then return to that E7. And then you can repeat the whole process. Or if you want to end it, you can end on the A7, because this is a blues in A, so you can finish it up just a single A7 chord. Now when you feel like you have this memorized, go through and try to play along with me at this point. We're going to count 4 on each measure and go a little slow and call the chords out. Don't strum 4 times, just let it ring, but count 4 times. I'll even do the counting so you don't have to worry about it. So when you're ready, you think you have these memorized, see if you can change chords at the appropriate time in this little exercise. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, and A7. 1, 2, 3, 4, A7 again. 2, 3, 4, another A7. 2, 3, and a final A7. 1, 2, 3. Now D7 for measure 5. 1, 2, 3. Another D7 and 1, 2, 3. Back to A7. That's measure 7. 3, 4. A7 again. That's measure 8. 2. Now measure 9 is E7. Here it goes, and E7. 2, 3, and now D7 and 2, 3. Now A7. 1, 2, 3. E7. 2, 3. Then end on an A7, and you finish the 12-bar blues in A. Now, when you want to do a little more with these chords, go ahead and start to do a little strum. I'll go ahead and throw it in this video so that you can jump in right away. You're still going to strum, or still going to hold each chord for 4 beats, and then either change or proceed to the next measure if it's the same chord. And the strum we're going to use is a single little down strum on each beat. Like that. Sounds like a really basic, simple strum. But we're going to now add this little bounce with an up strum right before we do the down. So it's going to turn into this. It's going to go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Just like that. For every measure, you'll have a down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and then you'll have the next measure. So the count, we could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, like that. And when you get used to it, I'll give you an idea of how it'll sound, and then when you get used to it, you can just play along with me here on this video. So here's the 12-bar blues, just like we learned it, with the strum incorporated. So 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, still A7, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, last A7, 2, 3, now D7, 3, 4, another D7, 2, 3, now A7, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, now E7, 1, 2, 3, D7, 3, 4, A7, 2, 3, now E7, 2, 3, 4, and end on an A7, just like that. So if you want to practice along with the play along video, do that, or go back through this video and practice as much as needed, and then we'll proceed forward with the movable 7 chords in another video, and then you can play just about any key you want to. So go ahead and play along with this video as many times as needed. Go check out the blues play along in A if you want to try that and play along with that. And then we'll get into some movable chords and some other keys on other videos. So enjoy. Thanks.